We set off at a good pace, and we thought to ourselves, oh, we shan't be long at this rate. Went through the night, but in the morning we slowed to a swimming pace, and we saw 50 ships, all sorts of ships around us, mostly merchant ships. There was one other troop ship called the Empire of Russia, Empress of Russia. She got 3 funnels. There was an aircraft carrier and 2 destroyers, and we had to travel with a snail's pace because of the slowness of the freighters. But we'd only been travelling for a few hours when the OC troops, that was the officer in charge of all the troops of the ship, had noticed from the captain of the ship that there was a submarine scare off the north coast of Ireland. So we turned into a bay on the tip of Ireland. At night time it was, and we dropped anchor. Now when the light came in the morning, Paddy McMahon, he looked ashore, he'd be jealous. He said, "This is me hoose. I see me hoose, and me Cully and me wife coming out to put the clays on the line." We were about a mile from the shore. He saw his children go off to school. We dropped anchors on the Tuesday. We were there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. Terrible time. And as the tides changed, the ship used to turn round on its anchor, and Paddy had moved from one scuppers to the next and looked at his house. He said to me on the Saturday night, he said, "I'm going to shore tonight." He said, "I'm a good swimmer." He said, "I can be back before it's light." No, this was on the Sunday morning he told me this. That's right. He said, "Tonight I'm going to shore." Around about midday on the Sunday we saw the smoke starting to come out of the chimney stack. And 4 o'clock the propeller started to turn and we moved out of the bay. And Paddy never got ashore. In fact, he never saw his wife again. He was killed in Burma. When we got to the open sea, the whole convoy travelled zigzag. We travelled 15 minutes one way. The Cape Town Castle was the master ship, the leading ship. There was a deep blow on the hooter and they changed direction for another 15 minutes. And the reason for that being, they said it took about that time for a U-boat, a submarine commander, to get his sights onto a certain ship in a convoy before he fired his torpedoes. So that's why we travelled zigzag. On the first day we got into the Atlantic, the OC troops, we got loudspeakers all over the ship. He said, "For the next 3 nights, every man will sleep fully dressed, including having your boots on." Now we'd already been taken up to our battle stations in case we were struck by a submarine. Mine was on the top deck abaft the funnel, and I noticed the hundreds of rafts battened down on the top deck, that if the ship was hit by a torpedo, these would be slashed loose and they'd float to give a chance of anyone grasping hold of one of them. On the first morning, we were got up at 6 o'clock, told to get into the PT kit, shorts and vest, and go on top deck in turns to do PT, physical training. But the sailors had already been up, and they'd swilled the decks with salt water, and you skidded all over your knees and your ankles. You'd never seen anything like that in your life. So I backed out, and I said to the sergeant in charge, "You can count me out. I'm not going for that nonsense." So the next day I was hauled in before the OC troops. The sergeant marched me in fully dressed. He was sitting at his table with his cap on, and then he read the charge, looked at me. 48648, I know, Private Derry, AW. "Sir," click of the heels. "You refuse to carry out an order given to you by an NCO." "Sir," another click. "You refuse to do physical training." So, now, what reason do you give me that you shouldn't do physical training? I said, St. Paul says in that physical exercise profiteth little. Titus chapter 1 verse 2. Now he leaned back in his chair and he put his fingertips together under his chin, his lids closed over his eyeballs, and I sensed the sergeant sniggering under his breath. Because the OC troops was an armed soldier, he'd heard all sorts of excuses. He'd never heard that one before. Anyway, eventually he said, well, Private Derry, he said, not being a Bible student, I can't say whether St. Paul said that or not. But he said, St. Paul ain't running this bloody ship. So he said, either you do PT or you're in Jankers. Now Jankers was a single cell above the two propellers. Up in the air 1 minute, 40 feet down, and the trough the next.